Well, hey there! Good morning, Brickheads. Hope you are having a wonderful day, wonderful week, and a happy Thursday. That's right, I said Thursday. My regular listeners, I need to start off with an apology because if you listen to this podcast regularly, you will know that I typically do podcasts every Monday and Wednesday. And well, hey, here we are, episode 101. It's Thursday, August 7th, and here's what happened. If it's your first time cluing in, like I said, usually Monday and Wednesdays, but if you're a long-time listener, basically less than a week ago, I had surgery to fix my broken ankle, and so I have been recovering from that. I'm also an educator, for those of you who don't know, and what happens in August in the world of education is the kids are coming back to school. So my whole staff actually just returned to campus. So we've been doing all of the stuff, getting ready for that first day of school for kids. And so August is crazy for educators. And so between that, those two things, and then obviously episode 100, the previous episode that I just put out this Monday, I did a big giveaway, and so I've been focusing a lot on that 100th episode and all the things that go along with that. So basically what happened is, guys, I forgot. I just literally forgot to do the podcast for the first time in like 10 months. I just was like, it was Wednesday night late, and I'm like, oh, I've forgotten to do this. So I should say Tuesday night late because I record typically the day before and then push it out the next day. So my apologies for not putting this out on Wednesday, but hey, 24 hours later, here you go. It is a wild card Wednesday, and we are going to do a set review and a set I've actually been looking really forward to reviewing. But again, before we get into that, I want to talk about a couple things. First, thank you to everybody who has been tuning in, whether you listen on your favorite podcast platform or you're a visual person and you like checking things out on the YouTube page. I really appreciate it. If this is your first time listening in, I highly encourage you to check out the YouTube page, and particularly the episode I just put out previous to this, the one on Monday, my 100th episode, my 100th podcast episode. I am doing a big giveaway, and it's actually not too late. You can still enter to win. And Steve, what do you win? Because it's my first time listening to the podcast. Well, good news. It's 3 giveaways. One, the third place, if you will, is a little set 75295, a microfighter for the Millennium Falcon. Giving that away. Second place is going to go out to a 3-pack of gift with purchases. It's the Year of Animals. So I got the Year of the Tiger, I believe the Year of the Pig, and then everybody's favorite, the Year of the Dragon. Giving those away. And then if that wasn't all, one lucky person is going to be getting the 7th LEGO Idea set ever made, and that's set 21109, the Exosuit. So if you're interested in winning any 3 of these sets, all you got to do, it's real simple, honestly. It doesn't cost you a thing. All the shipping, all that stuff, I will pay for everything. But all you got to do is be a subscriber to the YouTube page. Go to the 100th episode that I put out, the one I put out on Monday, and all you got to do is just like it and leave a comment. Leave a comment in that video, not this one. Don't leave it in this one. Leave me a comment on any video. I love comments. I love interacting. But to be eligible for the drawing, and a lot of people have entered so far, all you got to do is just leave a comment, anything. It just could be like, hey, congrats, or I want to win. It's simple. Tell me what state you're listening from, or what country you're listening from, or whatever comment you want. But that is the video, okay? And if you just, again, got to be a subscriber to the YouTube page, like that video, and leave a comment, you're entered to win. I will do the actual drawing at the start of next week. So you still have time. It is not too late to win free Lego. But there you go. I just wanted to put that out there. Like I say my apologies for the delayed episode. Remind you of the huge giveaway that's going on. And then also, I'm just going to say this. we're getting close to 1,000 subscribers on the YouTube page, which I don't know if you know this. On YouTube, 1,000 is a very big milestone. This giveaway is going well enough. I'm going to do an even bigger giveaway. So let's get that push to 1,000 subscribers. I have some really large sets in my collection that are new in box that I've been holding on to for years. Kind of feel like I want to give one of those away, but I'm not gonna do that till I hit 1,000 subscribers. But anyway, with that, my apologies. 5 minutes in, but that was all the house cleaning items. Let's talk about today's episode, and that is the UCS Sandcrawler review. Okay, and this set, y'all, my thumbnail is all about when LEGO redoes a set correctly, when they remaster a set, because there has been a lot of talk lately about the new UCS Death Star coming out here in October. Over 9,000 pieces. It is going to be $1,000 set. But right now, people are kind of losing their minds, myself included, that it's going to be not a sphere, not a big spherical Death Star, but instead a flatter, or at least half a Death Star, whatever it is, of different dioramas. And honestly, we haven't seen any images. This is just rumors, but truth be told, it just feels underwhelming, right? And it got me thinking, like, what are sets that LEGO has pushed out? Because Star Wars and Harry Potter, the themes, Star Wars and Harry Potter, they are masters of this, where they push out a set, and it could be a great looking set. It could be a crappy set, or it could be phenomenal. But 9 times out of 10, that same set, they are going to reimagine, remaster, and push out in the next 5 or 10 years, 15 years after that. And it really got me thinking about the UCS Sandcrawler. And the one I'm talking about today, the one I have with me, if you're tuning in on the YouTube page and watching the video, you can see images. It's sitting right next to me in its huge behemoth set that it is. This is actually set 75059. This is the newer version, okay? This one came out for the May the 4th release back in 2014, and it had an average shelf life. It stayed on till pretty much, I believe, the end of 2016, and it's a beautiful set. And the reason I specifically talk about this set is because if you've been around and been a UCS Star Wars collector for a while, there is a UCS, maybe it's not a UCS set, Sandcrawler that came out way back in 2005, and that's set 10144. And that Sandcrawler, it was beautiful, okay? So that Sandcrawler that came out in 2005, it had 1,669 pieces, retailed for $140, so absolute steal, right? I don't know if you count inflation with that, but it just sounds so cheap saying it. But it had 11 minifigs, and at the time, it was gorgeous. 1,669 pieces for a LEGO set. That was a big LEGO set. And the Sandcrawler, it did not disappoint, but it was mainly a brick-built set, okay? And what I mean by brick-built is the actual bricks instead of plates or tiles, okay? Actual, 2x1 plates, 2x2 plates, 2x4 plates. That is what we see a lot of today, with what we call the greebling, with the outsides and all the decorations. Use the snot technique, the studs not on top, so you can actually get different angles. And the popular technique for building nowadays, the popular technique for building nowadays is very much using tile and using plate for all of the outside exterior of your sets. But that just wasn't the case in 2005. They used bricks and they built it up in a vertical fashion, okay? They didn't use snot style building the way they use nowadays. And even then, it was a great set, really fantastic. It was one that was always on my wish list when I first got back into collecting LEGO. Like, if there was to me, that was a UCS set, And if there was one I wanted that wasn't the Death Star 2 specifically, it was that UCS Sandcrawler. I didn't mind all the overwhelming brown color scheme. I just thought it looked really good. It didn't feel as lame as the new Jabba the Hutt sail barge, right? Like, it just looked, I thought, really good. And so, but it was expensive. And even at the time, it was expensive to get your hands on. Like, if you wanted it used, nowadays it's going to cost you almost $300 for a $140 set. If you wanted it new in box nowadays, it's going to cost you like $400. And $400 for a, under 1,700 pieces, that's pretty expensive. So I never got my hand on it. But instead, 2014 came along and they reimagined the Sandcrawler. And they did it with modern building techniques. And this is what, if you are a LEGO Star Wars fan, or just a LEGO fan in general, where you demand accuracy, you demand, attention to detail, Star Wars LEGO fans are just, they're notorious for this, right? If there is a little bit of it that's just off, like the angle isn't right, the color scheme isn't perfect, Star Wars LEGO fans, they will let you know. They're pretty harsh critics, and myself included. And it was just such a relief and just beauty to see this set when it came out. Like, it was just beautiful. And I just can't understate the difference that the set looked, and not only its size, because it was a lot bigger. It was almost twice the size, right? At 3,296 pieces. This was not cheap. This was a $300 set. Now, that was only 9.1 cents per piece, so per piece it wasn't bad, but still, like, it was bigger, badder, better, and most importantly, utilized the snot building technique to give you the correct angles, because that Sandcrawler, it isn't just a boxy build, right? Those angles to the side of the Sandcrawler come out at a slight angle, where you get the cockpit really comes out and it juts out at weird angles, and LEGO just doesn't do that naturally. And so kudos to the designers in being able to come up with something where they could not only make it playable, where you could go in and you could open up and look in the cockpit and see everything, like stick your Jawas in there, but also when it closes up, it just made for a really good looking displayable set. And if that wasn't all, one of the things this set did, it had a lot of great playable features. You were able to, there was a turn screw at the top where you could undo the hatch up front. In the side compartments, they would open up, as well as the back compartment. A little tough if you got big hands to get your hands in there, but these side compartments were able to come up where you could actually not only attach it so it was a good displayable set, but you could always play with it as well. And that was pretty neat to be able to have, because UCS is pretty known for displayability first, playability second. And this set, I think one of the overwhelming features for me is that it did both, And you can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I also believe this 2014 set was one of the first UCS sets to actually have a printed plaque. And that's really important too, because plaques at one time, especially way early in the days, like if you have the Imperial Star Destroyer from like 2002, that plaque sticker actually fits over multiple pieces that were put together. Very bad. But then they improved and made a plaque piece, but it was still a sticker. And then finally now we're to the point where all the UCS sets for Star Wars or any huge set that typically has a plaque, it is now a printed piece, which makes a huge difference in not only, well, how you apply it, because it was really, really hard to apply a sticker that was that big and not get bubbles or to get it misaligned, but also just the longevity of it. Stickers come off. Stickers don't last. If you're not absolutely perfect with that sticker, don't plan on seeing it for a long time. And so they did a really good job in making sure that this was a set that not only looked good on display, but also had set printed pieces on here that looked good as well. If that wasn't all, it came with 14 minifigs. Now, little asterisks here with this set. The Sandcrawler, it comes with 10 minifigs, because 4 of them are brick-built droids, right? Because that's the thing with the Sandcrawler. If you've ever seen, the original 1977 Star Wars movie, when you go in there, that is the point. This is what the Jawas do, right? They're like junkyard hunters, and they get old droids and they buy and sell droids. That's how R2-D2 and C-3PO get sold off to Owen and his family and Luke, right? Luke is fixing up these bum droids that they bought off the Jawas from the Sandcrawler, and that's how, hilarity ensues, where he is able to see that image from Leia of asking for Obi-Wan's help. So, anyway, but the minifigs themselves, the other part and the other improvement is the minifigures that you're going to see on the 2005 set are your more basic minifigure faces, right? This was before they had a lot more like expressions, where you turn the face and you do one side looks one way, one side looks the other, or there were smiles or things like that, or they were making grimaces, or they were using different tones. The 2005, the minifigures were much more basic. Not that they were bad, they were just circa 2005 minifigs. Versus 2014, much more expressive minifigs, much better printings, and in fact, the Owen Lars piece, the minifig there, that is, lately, I want to say it goes for like $85, but it's a really nice printed piece. He's even got the printing on the legs, which was it's a norm now, but wasn't necessarily the norm back in the day. It was very much more the norm to print torsos, but then just have plain legs. That was the usual. But to see the really nice printed legs, a unique printed torso piece, and you got yourself a Owen Lars that people really go after. Like I say, if this set, if you want this new in box right now, it's going to be about a $450 set, right? Which, if you think about it, isn't a huge increase, because new in box retail from LEGO back in 2014 was $300. For inflation now, you're probably looking close to $400 anyway. So if you want it new in box, it's going to cost you $450. And that minifig, just that one single minifig, is a quarter of that price. If you want it used, I think 6-month sales on Brickset and Brick Economy with eBay have it around $400. So this is a decently affordable set. And so it was one that, if you love Star Wars, I highly encourage you to get. In fact, to me, the only tedious part about this build was the track underneath. The Sandcrawler is very well known for its, tank style tracks, because it's moving through the desert, right? Well, you have to build these huge tread, I don't want to call them tires, but the huge treads underneath for them. And there are 8 of these that you got to put together. And so that was a bit tedious. And I would say, I didn't look it up, but it's got to be at least 300 pieces of your 3,296 pieces in this set. So, but overall, really cool. Came with one huge manual, not many stickers. And then it was like 16 bags. And by the time you were done, you had this glorious set, like I say, that was not only a beautiful display piece and very unique from other Star Wars sets, because its predominant color is brown. Star Wars ships, there's so much gray. And if it's not gray, it's usually white with some accents, right? But this is brown. We haven't gotten a huge brown set like this since really it's the Sandcrawler and Jabba's sail barge. That's like the 2 main ones. But anyway, overall, like I say, just a great set. And I just wish LEGO designers would take note. This is what happens when you wait 10 years, right? And you redesign a set. This is how a set should be redesigned, because we have better building techniques. We have new molds. We have new pieces that we can use to make a superior set. I mean, look no further
Then Jango Fett's Starship. Boba Fett's Slave One is a fantastic set, a phenomenal set. And Jango Fett took all of the good things of it and they improved on it. They refined the set. And I honestly think that's kind of the issue with the new Death Star coming out is instead of refining and improving, they're just deciding to go in a completely opposite direction. So we will see if it pays off for them. Am I right? So anyway, before I end, I always like to rate the set. And when I rate a set, I tend to rate it on 4 things, and that's playability, displayability, the build experience, and the overall value. It lets you know if I think this is worth it for you to buy. And I've already talked a lot about playability. In terms of UCS sets, this is about as good as it's going to get because UCS is all about display. Unless you're playing with the old 10188 Death Star, this is a really fun playable set. Like I say, you've got a lot of moving parts, you've got cranes inside, you've got things that go down, and it can just plod along on the floor. So for playability, I'm going to give it a 9. Pretty high marks, honestly. I don't usually mark playability that high. Moving on, though, to displayability, it is all brown. You can't get around that fact. So some people love it or hate it. I enjoy it, but I think an 8 is probably very fair for this. The greebling on this set is really good. I think the accent piece there for, like I say, how they did the greebling and then the printed pieces that they have here in both the back and on the sides, I think it gives it a really nice displayable look and one I love having on the shelf. And it looks really good next to other Star Wars sets because of that juxtaposition of color. So displayability for me, I think an 8 is appropriate. Now the build experience, I will admit it's been a while since I built this set, but I can tell you I enjoyed it. I remember enjoying it. I remember not being bored. The only tedious part, as I said, was the treads on the feet. The feet were by far the worst part. But other than that, great, fun build and fun to have it as that completed piece. So build experience again there, I'm going to give it an 8 as well. And then value, it was a $300 set in 2014. Not cheap. However, it's Star Wars, so at 9.1 cents per piece, that's actually not a bad deal. That is pretty cheap. And for 3,200 pieces, which back in 2014, that's a mammoth set. That's huge. Absolutely huge. So for value, and because it's not like $1,000 now, right? There are some UCS sets that are just not affordable. To buy this used $400 for a set that's been retired for almost a decade, it's not bad. So for value, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 as well. So if you are keeping track at home, the overall rating for this set, I'm going to give it as an 8.25 out of 10. One that, if you are a Star Wars fan, okay, if you love Star Wars, if you love UCS sets, this Sandcrawler is a worthy addition to your collection. It's big, it's bold, it's very displayable, and I just think it looks fantastic. And for someone who loved the original Sandcrawler, the 10144, this was such an upgrade, and one that I hope LEGO designers continue to look back on to see, oh, this is what we need to do with LEGO sets for sure. So, but you tell me what you think in the comments down below. Do you like the Sandcrawler? If you own it, is it a jewel in your collection? Or are you just like, no, that looks like a big brown square, and Steve, this is a terrible set? Let me know. I usually get back to comments in, like I say, about the first 24 hours, so I would be interested. So, but with that, I am going to call it. I promise y'all, Monday, I will be back on time with more news and rumors. So if you are new to the podcast, new to YouTube, Mondays and Wednesdays, okay? And next Monday is important because I'm going to be doing the drawings and getting it done and getting these out to people. But if you still, again, want to be entered into the drawing, tune into the YouTube page, subscribe, and then watch and like and comment on Monday's video, the 100th episode video. That is the magical one that will get you entered into the drawing. So to all of those who have already entered, because I have answered a lot of comments already. Good luck to y'all. There's some people on there who have commented that I know you, like you are a long-time listener, and some I'm just like, there's hellos from Iowa, from Florida, from Hungary. I got someone who's like, I'm your listener from Hungary, which I think is just so cool. So let me know where you're listening from. I appreciate you no matter where you're listening from. It just is a great deal. It means a great deal to me for sure. So anyway, I appreciate you. Again, my apologies for being a day late. I'm going to blame it on the surgery, blame it on life is crazy. But until Monday, I promise I won't forget. I'll see you then. Okay? Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Now it's